this video, we're going to address one of the questions that I get asked all the time, which is it worth it to grade your comics? And we're going to talk about all of the nuance and everything that after watching this video, you'll be well on your way to be able to answer that question for yourself. And this video stems from a follower that reached out and sent me a couple of pictures of some books that he had pulled from his collection and said, I'm thinking about getting these graded. I was wondering, is it worth it? And so I thought, you know what? Let me just take those two pictures and just make a video about it, because I know a lot of other people would benefit from this situation. These books are very common books, the type of stuff that you'll see in a lot of collections. And so I think this video will be very helpful to a lot of people. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you, we are always buying collections here at Bryce Comics. If you shoot me a list of the books that you have, I'll get you a fast, fair offer, and I'll get you paid quick if we can make the magic happen. We also just got a whole bunch of new inventory at brycecomics.com. A ton of grails just came through the shop, a bunch of new ones that just listed this morning. I'm sure this will be gone probably by the time I'm done recording this video. The books always go very fast for these desirable keys because they're priced so well. So go check out brycecomics.com and use code COLLECT10 for 10% off all in-stock items. That code is always active. And if you sign up for the newsletter while you're there, you will get first access to new collections when they come through the shop. We also do almost weekly, usually on Friday nights, we do slab shows over on Whatnot. $1 starts, tons of awesome deals over on Whatnot. And there's a link down in the description of this video for $15 towards your first purchase. And I always have books in the buy it now for $15. So you can come by and pick up a free book if you're new to Whatnot. And it's a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. So a couple of things we need to address before we hop into the computer and go through real life examples is the question, is it worth it to have your comics graded? What do you mean by is it worth it, right? Most people, I think, when they say is it worth it, is will I be able to make more money when I go to sell these comics if they're graded? That's what most people mean by that. But I've also had people ask me, is it worth it to have books graded if I just want to keep them in my PC? And so for those that are thinking about getting comics graded because they think they present better, they like the way they look on the wall better, maybe they think they offer a little bit more protection, the question you really need to ask yourself is, what is the purpose of it? And would I be happy with it in a certain grade? Because a lot of people would say, I would like to get my personal copy of this graded, but I don't want to look at a big 6.0 of a book that should be higher grade than that. So to answer the question, if it's for your personal collection, is what grade would you be happy with if you were to get it graded? And in order to do that, you need to know how to grade comic books. And I have another video here on the channel called How to Grade a Comic in 4 Easy Steps or something to that nature. I'll put a link to that video down in the description because, yeah, you have to get comfortable with knowing how to grade comics in order to answer that question. The second part to that is for protection of the book. So as far as protection goes, a Mylar bag and a full backboard is basically, a really high quality bag and board for a comic, provides quite a bit of protection for a book. So you don't necessarily need to get it graded in order to protect it, because there's also the nuance of you have to send it through the mail. You have to have low paid employees handle books, and then they have to send it back. And the CGC cases are not perfect for protecting books. Under normal circumstances, they're okay, but oftentimes they don't even withstand normal shipping circumstances. So it doesn't necessarily provide more protection. Now, it depends on the person. If you're moving a lot, if you're schlepping around boxes all over the place, typically graded books would probably fare better in that sense than a bunch of raw books. But if you're careful and you store them properly, Mylar is good enough for storing comic books. So now to answer the question, is it worth it to have the books graded if your intent is to sell? And that's what I think applies to most people. To address that, we have to address grading companies, which grading company to use. And in the interest of keeping this video, as short as possible, there's a lot we need to cover. We're just going to assume that you're going to use CGC. And the reason for that is that CGC is still the preferred grading company, even with all of the recent controversies that they've gone through. It demands a premium in the aftermarket, and it's what most people still want. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We're just going to assume you're going with CGC and talk about their grading standards and their cost of grading in this video. I'm going to do a follow-up video, updated cost of grading and how to submit to CGC and all that very soon. But I also have videos on this channel where it'll show you how to find out the fees today. One's called How Much Does It Cost to Get Your Comics Graded and which grading company is best. I have videos of all those things I'll put down in the description so you can just get the full picture if you want want to dive into more detail about all of those topics. So with that said, let's pull up these pictures and hop in the computer and go through real life examples of deciding whether or not it's worth it to get your comic books graded. We got some giveaway winner announcements. Congratulations to Aaron Wing. Aaron, you won the YouTube giveaway for September, including a Wilbur collection for the comment you left on the Wilbur collection video. Thank you for being subscribed and for commenting, and congratulations to Anthony Caruso. Anthony, you won the newsletter giveaway at brycecomics.com, including this Silver Age Silver Surfer slab. Thank you for being subscribed to the newsletter over there. And we have these two brand new giveaways, which we'll put up on the screen, but two new Spidey books going out this month to lucky winners. Congratulations and good luck. So here are the two pictures that were sent to me with the question, are these books worth getting graded? This picture and this picture here. Now, having done this for years, I can look at these pictures and I already know which ones are and which ones aren't and in what grade, just because I've, been dealing comics for so long. But I've translated these. I picked some of them and then we'll generalize some of the other ones and translated them here into this spreadsheet. And I'll just go through the actual process of figuring out, is it worth it to grade these books or not? So starting off is X-Men number 283. And the first thing that I do, and key significance of this, is the first full appearance of Bishop in Uncanny X-Men number 283 and the first appearance of Game Master. The first thing that you do is go and look at what it's worth in different grades. So if we come over to GP analysis, type in X-Men 283, you got to put that hashtag and it'll pull it up. Otherwise, it's a lot more complicated. So make sure you put the hashtag in front of the issue number. And as you can see, there's two different ones here. It's the first one that we're looking for in 1991. Sometimes it pulls up weird in GP analysis, but here we can see in the 9.8 grade, it's $56. Now you can see here the newsstand edition last sale was $304, which actually seems a little high. But the difference between a newsstand and a direct, just so you don't, in case you didn't know, is down here in the corner. A newsstand edition will have just a barcode for this particular book, and the direct edition has something else. Sometimes it's you can see in these different books there's different images that they put in that little box. Here, I'll show you right here. 30th anniversary, that's a direct edition. If you click View Variants on Key Collector and you see the barcode here, that means it is a newsstand edition. So Key Collector is really helpful in deciphering these things as well, and you kind of use all these things together, GP analysis and Key Collector and eBay, as we'll see here in just a sec. So as we can see, in the 9.8 grade for a direct edition, the last sale was $56. So if we come over here to this, and we'll put the value in grade 56. So the first step is you need to figure out what grade your comic is. And I can almost guarantee you that none of these books are 9.8s. And the reason I say that is that obviously they've been schlepped around for decades, some of them. This X-Men 283 came out in 1991, so that was over 30 years ago. And in order to get a 9.8, it has to be almost perfect. Now, here's the thing. On this channel, I have two other videos. One is called How to Grade a Comic in 4 Easy Steps, or something to that nature, which can help you get an idea of grading. I also have another video called Allowable Defects in a 9.8, which, is better for books like these because we're going to probably need 9.8s in all of these. So the video Allowable Defects in a 9.8 will be very helpful for that. So that's the first thing you need to do, is you need to be able to say what grade you think it's going to get. And my biggest piece of advice here is don't be blinded by desire. If these books have been schlepped around for 30 plus years, they've been pulled in and out of boxes, unless you were ultra careful and OCD, and whenever these were read, you put them in a book and slowly open them, which some collectors are like that, but the vast majority are not. So don't be blinded by desire. If you found a bunch of these books at a yard sale or if they've been schlepped around for 30 plus years, I can almost guarantee they're not 9.8s because of how difficult it is to get 9.8. Just the slightest little defect prevents it from doing that. So if it was a 9.8, it'd be worth $56. The cost of grading is $25, and the potential profit is $31. Now, we got to talk about the cost of grading here. I also have another video on this channel called How Much Does It Cost to Grade Your Comics with CGC? That video will be very helpful, and I'm going to do an updated video for 2024 here shortly. But just for simplicity purposes, it's about $25 for a modern book if you have about 25 books to submit. The more books you submit, the cheaper it is going to be overall because of the cost of shipping. If you can save on shipping. Now, if you just sent in one book, it's going to cost you $15 to get it there, and it's going to cost you $20 to get it back, in addition to the $20 for grading. So it would be like $50 to grade just a single book. So this is assuming that you have like a 25 book submission. Okay. So potential profit of $31, and let's see how much it's worth raw. X-Men number 283. So we come over to eBay, X-Men number 283, and here you can see what they're listed for. Like you can get a raw copy listed for like $8 or $9. And condition is everything. This one is a fine grade, but these are just people's opinions, not professional graders. This guy says it's a near mint 9.8. I feel like I see this all the time where he just always says it's 9.8. Anyways, it could be. But you click over here on sold, and you can see what they're actually selling for, because it does not matter what they're listed for. It matters what they're selling for. So as you can see, they're selling for about $5. And obviously, like I said, it depends on the condition. Here's that sale for the 9.8. And so the value raw, I mean, let's just say it's $8. So if your potential profit after the cost of grading is worth more than the potential value of it raw, then yes, it's worth it if 9.8. Okay, because we come back over here and look at GP analysis, how much is it worth in a 9.6? Well, actually, 9.6 last sale was $40, but I think you'd be lucky to get $40 for this in the 9.6. You have lows of $17. You have them selling for $20, $30. So it's much more volatile in lower grades. And so if you cut this down to like $30, then basically it would not be worth it. Okay, so if a 9.8, yes, it is worth it. However, it's highly unlikely that it's a 9.8, all right? And don't get blinded by desire here. And one thing that I'm not factoring in is fees. If you were to sell this over here on eBay, you're not going to actually get $56. I mean, you have to factor in eBay's going to take about 15%, but they're also going to take 15% of the raw sale. So since it's the same cost to sell for a slab and for raw, we're just going to ignore selling fees. Okay, we're just, because it's a wash. All right, let's try the next one. X-Force number 11 is the first team appearance of Weapon Prime and the second appearance of the Real Domino. Looks like this one here. And I'm just going to tell you right now, my prediction is that, yes, it is worth it if it's a 9.8 and not worth it if it's not a 9.8. So we come over to GP analysis and type in X-Force number 11. Make sure you put that hashtag. There's a bunch of different X-Forces, you know, with different things in the title, but we're looking for the 1992 version. And again, you know, Key Collector is helpful for that, for identifying the year and key significance and things like that. So the last sale on the 9.8 was $51, and the last sale on the 9.6 was $50. That was a high sale. Some people are getting lucky on these 9.6s, but you know, if you go down lower, let's say you get really unlucky, it comes back 9.0, about 30. Like, it's crazy that the 9.8 is price consolidating so much, but it is what it is. That is this market. Like, it has taken such a downturn, and you can see the 90-day average is $66. Two low sales recently for 41 and 51, and then some highs. So let's just go with the 90-day average on this one at $66. And that's another piece of advice that I have for you, is to be conservative with your values, especially if you're going to sell it on eBay at auction. You know, be conservative. Realize that, don't again be blinded by desire and think you're going to get the high sale of $130. You know, in this market, we're looking more at the low end of sales. So 66, potential value is 41, the value raw. Go to X-Force 11, and again, make sure you click this little button over here where it says completed sales and sold items only. And you can see, look, there's a sale for $51 for a 9.8 and then $40 for an 8.5. This was buy it now, this was auction. So there you go. There's another little tip. Do not auction books on eBay unless you want to get absolutely slaughtered. Here for raw books, you can see we got a sale of $3, you got a sale of $12, a sale of $8 for a VF. And, you can click into these and take a look at the condition and kind of see. Scott's Collectibles, I believe they have a lot of followers and stuff, and they only got $8, So I think that if one of the biggest sellers is only getting $8 for it raw, I think we can say that, a smaller seller would be lucky to get $8. So again, this is yes if 9.8, and I would recommend that, you only do it if you're really confident that it's a 9.8. At these 9.6 sales coming in at $50, you cannot rely on that. You're probably more like the $39. And let's just say if it was $39, if it was $39, then your potential profit is 14, which is more than the raw, right? But what if it comes back at 9.2? And so just to be conservative, on books of this caliber and this era and stuff, I'm just going to stick with probably that they have to be 9.8s in order to make it worth it. You don't want to get stuck with a bunch of 8.5 X-Force 11s and things of that nature. So X-Force number 15, when you have the title plugged in here, you can just hit the drop-down menu and go to the next issue, which is nice. If you have like a whole run of Amazing Spider-Man, it makes it really easy. X-Force 15, the last sale was $51. And look at this, the 9.6 last sale was $69. It's just so crazy. But the 12-month average is 35. Very similar book. If we come in here and put 51, let's just assume it's about $8 raw as well. Again, it'll be yes if 9.8. Oh, it went up to 9.9. Definitely if 9.9. But I think there's only like a couple 9. You're just not going to go to 9.9. All right. Batman number 609. This one will be a little bit different. We'll come over here and type it in. Batman number 609, which is the first full appearance of Thomas Elliott, later revealed to be Hush, and a really awesome cover by Jim Lee. Very collectible. Here you can see these values are just guidelines. They're not meant to be, exhaustive or like really accurate. So I would you can use them as like a guide, but nothing more than that. So Batman number 609, we type it in here, and there was it looks like a reprint in 2024, but we're looking for the 2003 version. And we go into the sales here at 9.8. The last sale was $164. 90-day average is $137. High sale of $235. A low of $89. There was a low on eBay. It was probably an eBay auction. So looking at these numbers, I would say $150. Even though it's such a desirable book, there's a couple sales for $150. Oh, there's a bunch lower than that. I mean, let's go with the 90-day at $137. So we're typing in here $137, and we already know that is going to be worth it if a 9.8. But what if it was a 9.6? This is where it might still be worth it. Yeah, 9.6 is 100. So we already know that if it's worth $100 in a 9.6, yes, that's worth it. A 9.4, $55, probably. 9.2. So, almost like anything a 9.0 and above is worth $50 or more. But what about the raw price? So if we come over here and put Batman number 609, see, there's certain situations, and we're going to take CGC off, that a raw copy, you could just save yourself the trouble of grading. So this guy is claiming it to be a 9.2, and he got $35 for it. This guy is claiming it to be a 9.4, and he got $75 for it. So if you can get $75 for it raw, and it comes back a 9.4, let's type that in here. Let's say the value in grade was a 9.4, and we come over here, the 9.4 value, let's call it the 90-day average is 55, okay? So $55 in a 9.4. The potential profit is going to be, it doesn't like the words in there, but 55 minus 25 is 30, and the value raw is 75. All right, so this is a big no, not worth it to grade this book. If you know that your Batman 609 is a 9.4, and you can list it on eBay raw as a 9.4. near mint, NM means 9.4. If it was NM plus, that would mean 9.6. And if it was NM/M, that would mean 9.8. So this guy is just claiming it's a near mint. And he probably knows that it is, at best a near mint. Sometimes sellers, let's see if we can see any spine ticks or anything on this. So here's the actual picture of the book. He's got it in the bag, so you can't really tell. That's the only picture. There's one picture of it in the bag, and he's only claiming that it's a 9.4. And there is no description from the seller. So he was very wise. I mean, he just put on there that he thinks it's a 9.4, one picture, not detailing anything, and he got $75 for it. So he made significantly more money and saved himself the trouble of getting it graded. All right, let's look at Catwoman number 51. So let's come over here and type in Catwoman number 51. This is the classic cover by Adam Hughes. Very, very desirable book. There's also a newsstand version of this, and the newsstand version doesn't say direct sales, and newsstand would be monumental. It doesn't even have it on eBay. I think there's a newsstand version of this. I'm pretty sure. There's also a convention foil edition. So Catwoman number 51 from 2006. That is the cat we're looking for. And you come over here, the 9.8 last sold for $276. So we already know it's absolutely worth it if it's a 9.8. But let's see if it was like a 9.2. All right, if it's a 9.2, the last sale was $75. You also had a 9.0 sell for $137, but that seems high. 12-month average is 97. Let's say you think it's a 9.2 and it's worth 97 in a 9.2. All right, so that means the potential profit for it, $97 in a 9.2, let's call it $72 would be the potential profit. So let's see if you can get a Catwoman 51. Let's see if you can get more than $72 for it raw if you say it's near mint minus. Catwoman number 51. So we're looking for any sale. Look at this. $150 for it raw, and he's claiming it to be a 9.4. So $150 for it raw. He's claiming it's a 9.4. Let's come back over here. 180. So that's basically a wash because $25 cost for grading, but that seems high. I think 180 is a high price. So this one, if it's not a 9.8, I think what I'm seeing is it would probably be worth it just to sell it raw. Here's a 9.2 that sold for $73, and you had to pay for shipping, and you had to pay for grading and all of that. Here's a 9.2, best offer accepted. There is a way to figure out that, but what were we looking for? 9.2. We're looking for better than 72. Let's just assume maybe he got $70 for it. Here's proof that if it's a 9.2, near mint or better, this guy's saying it's really nice copy. This one's a 9.4, you got 180. If you know it's not a 9.8 and it's about a 9.2, this guy, oh, that's the foil. This guy doesn't even put a grade. So there's an example, two examples actually. Modern books, highly desirable keys. So 97 and 9.2 is 75 and the value raw. I mean, I think we saw one that was like $75. So this one is no. All right, so for these Man of Steels, I'm going to just tell you this the same thing. It's the same era as these X-Force 11 and 15s. They're worth it in 9.8. They're probably not 9.8s, judging from this picture. I would say they're only worth it in 9.8, and you would have to know if it's 9.8. Let's look at a couple of more interesting examples here. Strange Tales 158. This is the first Silver Age book on the list. So Strange Tales number 158. We'll come over here. Remember, the first thing we do is see what the value is in the grade. So you have to be comfortable with grading. I can tell from this picture there is a book length subscription crease. I think it taps out around a 5.0 or something if that's all it is, but it's clearly not all there is. There's some edge wear and stuff like this. I would take a guess that this book is probably about a 4.0. So this book in a 4.0 is worth about $50 graded in a 4.0. Tough book to sell. The cost of grading for a Silver Age book is higher, and it's because it has to go in the vintage tier. Again, that video breaks it all down. There's tons of nuance with the cost of grading, but for a vintage book valued $400 or less, it's about $40 when you factor in shipping if you have a whole bunch of books in the submission. If it's just one book, it's going to be much more than $40 because you have $20 shipping back, so now it's $60 and $15 shipping there, so it'd be about $75 if this was the only thing you had and it was valued under $400. It would be about $75. So we're assuming that you have about 25 books to get the discounted price of $40, and so the potential profit here is $10. I guarantee, without even looking at eBay, that you can get more than $10 for this raw. In fact, you can probably get close to $50 for it. So you would be way better off keeping this book raw than getting it graded. Strange Tales, number 158. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Look, $20. But still, $16.55 is still better than $10. And you know, this was an auction, so you might be able to list it for $40. See, here's one listed as a 6.5, sold for $68. So it was listed as a 6.5 and sold for $68. What does a 6.5 graded sell for? $40. The last sale was $40, which was low, but you know, it does happen often. Here's one for $80. There's one for $40. So this guy listed it raw and got $68. There's a 5.0 that sold for $32 graded. Best offer accepted for $20. This guy got a great deal. He got all those books for $25. Wow, that is astonishing. Go follow that eBay seller. $46. You know, so $23 for an auction. There's that same subscription crease. It almost looks like the same book. It's not. I can tell by the creasing here, but very similar book. $23.50. Let's put that because that almost looks the same. So definitely not worth it for this book. All right, let's look at Spawn number 50. And the thing that's interesting about this is it's signed by Todd McFarlane. So CGC has a new service, JSA Authentication. I'm sure you've heard of it, which they can authenticate unwitnessed signatures. One of the big nuances with that is you got to be dang sure that your signature is authentic. And because if it's not, you're going to just pay a bunch of reject fees and shipping and all that. So in a 9.8, just by itself, it's worth it to get it graded for this one because it sells for about between 90 and 100. And signed by Todd McFarlane, the last sale was $300 for 9.8. But I can almost guarantee that this is not a 9.8. You know, let's just say it's a 9.0 and come down here and see what a 9.0 signed by Todd is worth, about $130. Okay, so if we come back here, the JSA authentication is an additional $18, but you probably don't have 25 signed books to send in. So your shipping is going to be a little bit more for JSA in most cases. So I just put $45. It would be more than that if it was a single book. It would be about $65 for a single book because of shipping both ways. And so if it's a 9.0 signed by Todd is worth about $130 minus the cost of grading. This is assuming you have a lot. So $85. I don't know. I think you might be able to get more for a Spawn 50 signed by Todd McFarlane raw. We need to get more than $85 for it raw. Signed Todd McFarlane. Let's see if we can find a raw signed by Todd McFarlane. Here's one not signed that sold for $20 raw. Oh, it is signed. Low grade. It says low grade signed by Todd McFarlane. No COA. So that's the thing about buying a signed book on eBay is, you know, you could just sign all your books, Todd McFarlane, and say there's no COA. It's definitely super risky to buy a signed book raw off of eBay. So this one, I think if you're confident that because it's $17 raw with no COA, let's put that because we have proof. So is it worth it? Yes. If 9.0 or higher. Probably even lower grade than that, because just a Todd signature alone, people will pay like $100 for, and even on a low grade thing, it goes exponentially up for high grade stuff. But Todd's signature is kind of in a league of its own. There's a handful of creators and artists that have really valuable signatures, and then there's a plethora of artists that have their signatures really don't make it worth it to get it graded. So Todd is one of them that his signature holds a lot of value. So if you're confident that it is an authentic signature, it will probably be worth it as long as it's not like completely trashed. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a book that I got already graded, Captain America number 118. And it was a 6.5, and it came damaged. It had a big crack in the case, and so it would have to be reholdered. And I was entering it to get reholdered, and I thought, how much is this even worth? So it's a 6.5. The last sale was $37 for a graded copy, which was probably a little low, but, you know, it does happen. Let's just say 59. Let's say that was an anomaly, and we'll put it at $59. So it's $59 in a 6.5, but the cost of grading makes the potential profit $34. So can we get a Captain America number 118 in a 6.5? Can we get more than $34 for it raw on eBay? And I think we could. Because another thing that people do when you list books raw sometimes is they get blinded by desire. Like if you say it's a better grade. Look, this one is way lower than a 6.5. You can tell by all of the wear and stuff, and they got $31. I'd like to see one from a trusted seller who actually put a grade. This one looks similar grade. This is a VG, got $20. Here is an 8.5 plus, and at auction only got $43. That was a low sale. Let's just say, $30. Stunning high grade only got 80. Wow. That could have been a good opportunity. There's a fine for 36. This guy has 851. So $36 and value raw 36. So there you go. It's $2 more. Save yourself the cost of grading and just sell it raw. So there you go, folks. These books in this video were very common books, books from the 80s and 90s that were, mass produced, and most people have when you find a big collection, most of them will have books like this. And I think that that's what applies to most people. However, there is a whole different conversation for very rare and valuable books. And in most cases, very rare and valuable books, it's almost always worth it to get it graded, because people aren't going to be willing to spend, tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars unless they have a professional grading company certify it. That's another little piece of nuance here, is if you have a really rare, really special collection that you found, it's almost always worth it to get it graded. There's some nuance to that as well. Golden Age books, some Golden Age books that are non-key issues just aren't worth it. Like a lot of Supermans, or especially like, some of the like cartoon Golden Age comics just aren't worth getting graded. So really make sure you check the sale prices of these books before you go through this process. And lastly, I'm here to help. So if you have some questions, please check my channel first. I have so many videos answering all of these questions. But if you have a unique situation and, just need a little bit of guidance or a little bit of help, I'm happy to help. You shoot me an email at brycecomics@gmail.com. But I am super busy. I have a family and trying to run a business here. So I just ask that you please, refer to all the resources on the YouTube channel first. In the description of this video is a ton of helpful videos about this entire process. But then, of course, if you want to just avoid all of this and sell your collection, I'd be happy to shoot you an offer and walk through it with you. I've done this many times with people on the phone where they've inherited a collection or something, and they're just like, I have no idea and no interest to dive into this. And we just do a FaceTime call, and we just flip through the boxes, and I can tell them instantly, like, what the situation would be like. Yeah, those ones are worth getting graded. Those ones aren't. Here's what I can pay. Here's what your other options are. And we can just handle it in like a 10-15 minute FaceTime call. So feel free to reach out if that fits your situation. Don't forget, we have those monthly giveaways here on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, comment, and like, you're entered to win. And we always do a giveaway over at brycecomics.com if you sign up for the newsletter over there as well. Hope to see you over on Whatnot. Link down below, $15 towards your first purchase. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.